How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Awesome.
Good.
All right, it's 6 o'clock, so we're going to call the City of Oak Park Heights Planning Commission meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, up next we have the approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes anyone would like to make, or do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. All right, next up we have the approval of the November 10th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting minutes. Do you have any changes?
I didn't notice anything of substance. There was a few little words that I wondered about, but
right.
nothing to change the spirit of the discussion, so.
Well, if no one has any changes, do we have a motion to
I'll make a
approve?
motion to approve
Got
the
a
minutes from November 10th.
one
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. That brings us to Department Commission Liaison and other reports. Anything, Eric?
Mike?
Yeah. I know we're working on, Scott, with the issue of parking limits and heat islands and some of that stuff, and we're still, I think we had hoped initially to bring it to you this month. We're a little behind schedule, so next month is where we're coming at you. So
For what's that?
the council had asked the staff and ultimately the planning commission to look at some of our rules related to parking minimums, if I'm correct, Scott?
Yep.
And to try to think about what we could do to reduce some of those minimums, to reduce some of the islands, the parking lot sizes in the big picture, and also related to that of heat islands and some of those things, and landscaping and some, so we're, Scott and I are.
Mostly commercial you're talking about?
Yeah,
not
commercial.
residential?
It's
Okay.
commercial, yep.
Yeah, the requirements are pretty steep. Got a lot of blacktop that is only
Requires a lot
running
of parking
water
that
off.
isn't used.
It's just running water off, that's all it's doing.
All right. I guess we can move on to visitors and public comment. So this is an opportunity for the public to address the commission with questions or concerns on or not upon the agenda. Is that supposed to say that? Concerns on or not upon the agenda?
Yeah, that's unusual, isn't it? I didn't think it used to say
not
that.
on the agenda, it's backwards.
Yeah.
Sorry, distracted by minor words here.
Yeah.
Please, if we ask you to limit the comments to 30 minutes, or to 30 minutes, to 3 minutes, please 3 minutes.
Oh, good. 30 minutes would be too
Tonight we
long.
have Kate's Fine Homes and the zoning ordinance amendment for daycares. So if there's anyone that's here to speak on anything other than that, now would be the time. All right, with no one from the audience, we'll keep moving to our public hearings, our items for the agenda. So first up, we have Kate's Fine Homes, and we usually start with a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Jennifer Cates Peterson of Cates Fine Homes LLC CTAC Properties has made application for a variance for subdivision regulations and process and variance for lot size and lot width to allow the construction of two single-family lots, 15222 62nd Street and an adjacent lot that has not been addressed. Property currently has one single-family home that will be removed. The site consists of one parcel, a small parcel, about 5,382 square feet, and the other at 10,758 square feet. Our property is zone R2, low and density residential district. All this is really a simple boundary line adjustment over to create two lots, both of about 8,000 square feet. The proposed lots will not comply with the lot size and lot width requirements requiring the variance. And the other variance is a procedural variance to allow the boundary line adjustment as a minor subdivision and not require a preliminary plat. In our ordinances, we do allow for a, let's say, a a lot split or a boundary line adjustment, the lots to be moved by administrative purposes, but the ordinance does say that if the lots that result do not meet the requirements, then it has to go through a full subdivision preliminary final plat. Staff talked to Jennifer about that. We didn't feel it was necessary to go through a expensive full plat. Rather, since we had to go this process anyway, we'll just allow them to do it as an administrative process. But you still have to approve the variance to allow us to do that. Jennifer has provided a little bit of background information and some good detail on how that boundary line is going to look with some landscape plans, with some potential diagrams of what the houses are going to look at. I've gone through the zoning. Let me go into a little detail. The R2 district would allow a 10,400 square foot lot area and an 80-foot width. Again, both those lots, again, would be 8,000 square feet, and the proposed lot widths are about 60 feet each. The lots are adequately sized for the two houses that are proposed, and all the setbacks are met. I think staff would have had more of an issue with this if they're also looking for variances from the setback, but considering the front yard, side yard, rear yard setbacks can be met with the rather modestly sized houses that they're proposing, staff felt much more comfortable with that. The report goes into more detail about the minor subdivisions and processing, but again, it's just a process whereby you allow us to do that through administrative purposes. Building heights will be met. Parking, there shouldn't be an issue with 2 stall garages for each unit, and within a garage, and then 2 additional in the driveway. Applicant has provided a stormwater management plan, utility plan that have been reviewed by the city engineer, and again, we'll have the standard condition with that finally with the final proposal that's put forward. Design criteria for single family. There are some basic design criteria. What they've provided us to review does meet all those design criteria, but obviously we'll have to look at that as when their final designs come in through the process, the building permit process, and they will comply with those. There's the variance criteria for the zoning. Staff has taken a look at it, done a review, and we see really no neighborhood, public service, public safety, or infringement on adjoining property issues with this request. Neighborhood has been developed with a variety of lot sizes. You look at the aerial photograph, even within the immediate neighborhood, there's 3, 4, 5 lots that are roughly the same width as what's being proposed. So again, because the setbacks are being met, the houses are modest, they should fit in well with the neighborhood. Staff has supported this request. We did receive the only mailed notice that I'm aware of, unless something came in this afternoon, Matthew Lundquist, who lives just to the north and the east, or actually just to the east of the property. His driveway comes off from the north. Said he was comfortable with the proposal, but was looking at the possibility of some additional landscaping if possible. So with that, does the Planning Commission have any questions?
Any questions?
I have one question. I just want to be sure that we're not creating any new lots here. There's already 2 existing lots,
Right.
2 separate existing lots.
There's one very small lot and then one larger lot.
Right.
Right.
So if, as an example, if they, the house that's on the 40-foot lot, if they chose to keep that there, they could still build a second house because the vacant lot meets the standards of the ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay.
It not only meets the standards, but it's also grandfathered in. So even if, let's say that second lot was only 10,000 square feet, it was less than the
okay.
the requirement. Because it's just slightly under that requirement, it's been that way for a long time, it would still be grandfathered.
Well, and the reason I ask is just that So they can still, without any variances, they can still build two
They
houses.
could come in.
Still be two
and,
homes there.
Get building permits to fix up house, the existing house and build a new house.
Right, right. Okay, well, I guess that's what I wanted to know. To me, that's an important part of it, so I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Any additional questions for staff? All right. Well, before we start the public hearing, we usually ask the applicant to come up and speak if they would like and answer any questions the commission might have. We've got a representative.
Hi. Thanks, Timothy, for clarifying that. Currently, I have a 40-foot wide lot and an 80-foot wide lot. So,
Can you tell us?
Could you introduce yourself first?
oh, I'm sorry, I'm Jennifer Kate's Fine Homes.
I knew that. I just wanted to make sure it got
Sorry.
on the record.
Yep, on the record. So currently I have the 40-foot and the 80-foot, and like we're explaining and Scott was confirming, I absolutely could build a house on that 80-foot. I believe I could even build a two-family. I believe it's zoned that. It's really hard to take that 40-foot and fix that up decently. So I just thought logically, I could do a very nice job on 60-foot wide lots with some pretty nice looking houses. And that's really, I thought Scott laid it out very thoroughly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No questions for the applicant from the commission? All right, well, thank you very much. All right, then we're ready to, unless we have any further discussion we want to have before the public hearing, we're ready for I'll open the public hearing. It's here at 6:12. And with that, we'll invite anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this to come up and introduce yourself and speak.
And where you live.
Do you have anyone from the audience who would like to come and make a comment? Well, hearing, seeing no takers, well, I guess we can also.
Ma'am, would you come up here and also introduce yourself with your address, please,
Yeah.
just for the minutes?
Just so we know where you're at.
Thank you.
Sure, my name's Amy. I'm one of the neighbors on the west side of the property.
The west side?
Yes, adjacent west.
And your address is, again?
206.
206.
15206.
15206.
So are you immediately east, or I'm sorry, immediately west? The
Yes.
house that's right next door?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, right next door there. And some of my other neighbors are here. I guess I appreciate the clarity. It sounds like, Tim, what you said is the way that it's set up here. Splitting the lots into two 60-foot lots, and then it sounds like maybe taking down that house. Is that correct? Gives two lots of more equitable size and appropriate. Either way, you end up with two houses in that space, like you
Right.
said. The 80-foot lot, of course, ready to build on, and then the smaller squeeze on the existing house is already there and is grandfathered in and has permission to be there. Right.
The other thing is that the setback is not being met now, but it would be met, so it would move the house, I think it's 6 feet away now, so it'd move it to 10 feet
Okay, east, toward the river?
east, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that was the other thing that I was curious about that Scott brought up, is that all of the setbacks, the current setbacks for that zoning district will be met with the two 60-foot lots with the houses that they have proposed.
Okay,
So from your standpoint, you're the one closest to that house.
yeah.
The new house would be further away from you.
It's going to move about 4 feet away from your
4 feet
house.
away from me.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's interesting. I mean, I think as a neighborhood, we were wondering if it was one big house that went there because it's a big, beautiful lot. Just, kind of the details are obviously hard to figure out when you're less familiar with it. I think some of the trouble that our neighborhood has already is that the dead end on that street makes it a little hard for getting in and out of. And maybe I didn't pay attention or missed wherever the driveways might be, or if that's negotiable.
They're shown on the plan that we have, and I don't know if
Okay.
you've seen that. He's got,
Disagree now.
There's copies in the back, too, and
Okay.
as well as up here.
but you can see the two driveways are pretty much right together on the new lot line. I mean, that's where the driveways are,
On
so
the yellow lot line? Is that,
the yellow line is the lot line.
okay,
And the red lines are the house lines.
Yep.
And then there's red lines that go south down to the street, which is where the driveways are.
gotcha.
Yep. So the garages are kind of near each other,
Does that make sense?
not facing away.
So that means that it's gonna be a shared drive.
Ma'am,
Nope.
Wait,
wait a minute. Let's,
can we just make sure we speak into the microphone? I see our AV people kind of running around in circles.
yeah, we need to have people come and then identify themselves with their name and address. We need it for the public
I'm
record,
Marcy
please.
Dakota, and I live at 6197 Paul Avenue. We're right on the corner, right across the street from the butcher.
Okay, okay.
And I was just wondering, because we're on a dead end and they never put a cul-de-sac to turn around, so we have a lot of wrong turns and stuff. They use our driveway to turn around and stuff. And now you're adding more traffic down there.
But you're adding 2 driveways too.
Yeah.
So I
Maybe they're gonna
went
turn
down there
around in
to
these
look today, and
driveways.
I think I saw your driveway and I was tempted to turn around there, but I backed straight out. I was like, nope, not doing it. So-
Yeah, but. yeah.
Is it possible, does the city have any interest or obligation to create any easier end of the road scenario?
That would be an area.
Bump it out a little bit, so it's a little.
You know, looking at the aerial, it's pretty narrow. The right-of-way is pretty narrow, and again, with the amount of additional traffic that this is going to add, I don't think, we couldn't put a cul-de-sac in, for instance. There isn't room for that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
even a hammerhead would be really tough, I think, Eric. Just
Well, yeah,
put it
the
in.
good or for bad, you know.
I said bump out, you said hammerhead, we're talking about the same thing,
Same thing,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, dealing with infill development, you know, and these things are
It's imperfect.
tight.
Okay.
For their real estate, and to Mr. Freeman's point, there could be 2 houses accessing this area anyway, with or without this variance. There's a house that's there now, that'll go away, so the net is only 1 more.
Yes.
So, I don't
But they
know
could
if
do that now anyways.
And they could do that not only, but in terms of the traffic, it's not 2 new homes, it's 1.
Yes. Now, and most recently, there have been rentals there moving in and out normally, but for a very long stretch of time, there was a little lady there who
She lived there forever.
did live there
Yeah.
forever. and
Single
never
family, I mean, a
moved in.
property owner, owner occupant is always, I should say always, but it's.
Yeah.
Preferred, yeah.
It's preferred for continuity in a neighborhood, and
Oh, yeah, so.
And
could it-
garages is another thing that,
Are these intended to be owner occupants?
Sorry to say my
No, you don't have to.
good
say
job,
anything.
Jennifer.
You know who you are now.
Thanks for asking though.
Yes, they are meant to be built and then sold. I do not intend to rent them. I do intend to build them. I have to be honest with you, I'm not sure the timing of them. I might do one, sell it, then the other, but I don't intend to rent them. I tend to sell them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is it possible that we could modify or make any adjustments to street signage? There used to be, Barbie, you mentioned
Yeah.
that there used to be
Dead end sign?
flashing things that they tell people, don't keep driving down here, there's nowhere to go.
dead end signs.
All summer long, you know.
Dead end signs, yeah.
You know, that would be a, I don't know how they, you know, what the, that is just a thing
Yeah.
that would be.
The thing is that the dead end street, though, the portion of 62nd Street that's a dead end street is only about 140 feet long. So it's, you know, for 140 feet, and there's one existing driveway on the south and 2 on the north.
Yeah.
Proposed. You know, does that really need a cul-de-sac, or can we back down the street if we really had to? I mean, it's,
But it's
So I'm just-
dead-end people that keep coming down there.
well, no doubt, and signage might be a really good idea. I think the other thing with the extra housing, if you want to call it that, these that both have garages and driveways for parking. And right now, there's parking on that street going on all the time. I could see why you wouldn't want any more parking on there, but these would have on the lot parking the way it's proposed. 2-car garages and then 2 cars in front of the garages, so it's 4 cars.
Sure.
Which is pretty standard in most neighborhoods,
Yeah.
you know, which is, the 40, if that house stayed on that, if the house stayed on that 40-foot lot and they just built on the 80-foot lot, there's no way to get a garage there. So it's, I mean, I think that the neighborhood should be upgraded, will be upgraded by this proposal. That's my personal opinion when I look at it. They're getting, the 2 houses, there's gonna be 2 houses there. I'm guessing there's gonna be, or they could be. And I think that the 60-foot lots are gonna give you 2 nicer looking houses than trying to fix up that one that's there and then build you know, another one that, you're still gonna have 2 houses. You're still gonna have the same number of cars, so.
I totally agree with you, Tim, and I
Yeah,
think it's,
yeah.
and it's nicer to have that, that garage in the existing, the
Yeah, I
little
mean,
baby
it's,
house as well. That's a win for us and for the street issue as well.
and for the neighborhood. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, not just for you, but for,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it upgrades the neighborhood. I think you get newer looking homes and that spurs on other people to, you know, spruce up their homes and, you know, it takes the first one in the neighborhood, but then everybody kind of goes along, so.
Yep.
And the neighborhood looks nice now. I mean, so I don't think this is gonna take it backward, but that's just my opinion, so.
So, Mr. Chair, we should allow the public to make their statements and then take the planning commission consideration after that. So
Do we have any
it's
other?
a little procedural
or
thing
Any
here.
other further comments from the public?
And no, I think as a, you know, the other, the people, the neighborhood is broadly excited to have a new house there and glad for that and, you know, consider it an upgrade as well. So we look forward to having new neighbors and, you know,
That's good to know.
enjoy that upgrade as well. And to your point, I agree with what you said. 2 60-foot lots in that scenario seem to make more sense than the squeeze and the 80-foot.
All right, looks like we have one more comment. If you want to come up and introduce yourself and.
Hey, you guys just could get out of the gym here before you, all right, good for you.
I worked out. Jim Steiger, 15221 63rd Street North. So we're on a street to the north side.
To the north, yeah.
We built a new house there 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we moved in September. And when we moved in, there was a garage there. So you can't say.
In the
"Wait,
back,
you're-"
yep. The slab is still there, right?
And that garage burned down. And that garage was really kind of a blessing because it kept the separation from our property and the other properties that were there. Since that garage burned down, we had light pollution, floodlights that would be shining on the thing. So the neighbor finally put up a kind of a temporary shelter which blocks the lighting. So our house that's a little lower than that.
Oh, okay.
Our lot slopes to the north. It's pretty level, but it sloped a lot more when we built it. We had to meet all the codes, so we had to drop the house down a little bit and for all the drainage around the house. So light pollution and visibility from that lot is a lot more offensive for us. If there were some blockage of that type thing, we put shrubs up to try and block that. And I think we talked to you about replacing that garage, but they never did. I mean, there was so that would be my concern is that because our house sits down, it's kind of a obnoxious area. One thing aside, to say how much it is, one of the renters that came in there when we first in that second year, I think, they were shooting at the garage and of course missing the garage, but hitting towards our house with their gun, BB guns, I think it was.
Oh,
The police was called. I don't know, a couple of people called the police, I think, but
yeah, that's not good.
yeah, well, the people that were there said that they could do whatever they wanted. So we're kind of in an area where, you know, vulnerable from light and from access, because our house sits down, anything that goes that way is going to be offensive to us. So that would be my concern, I think, from the standpoint of building the houses. The garage did block that before.
Okay.
And now, with the 2 houses there, we're going to, our lots, but both of those, what do we call them? 40, 40, and 40, so it butts the 2. I think the 140 to the far east doesn't butt us, but the rest of it does, so that's a comment I would have.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask, is I just wanted to know which So you're you have both of the lots that are north of it?
Tim, again,
Well, he did ask.
They're two 40-foot lots.
maybe I'm trying to be too procedural here, but
Trying to figure out
typically
which
you
house it
allow the applicant or the public to make their statements, and then we have discussion following.
Okay.
He's the property directly behind Tim.
That's what I was trying to find out, was
He's
which
the
house he
property
was.
directly behind, as he stated.
Okay. Any other, thank you very much.
Okay.
Any other comments from the public? Right. If no one else has any comments, then,
Can I have one more question?
Sure.
sure.
Maybe, again, is there any reason to expect that there would be changes to parking on the street?
I would defer to the city staff.
Is there any reason that that would change?
Yeah, again,
with
you're
the-
going to have for each lot, 2 stall garages, and then adequate space for 2 additional cars to park in front of those garages. So you're going to have more cars, obviously being able to park on site. Now, not saying if there's a party or something, you may have some street parking.
Right.
That just,
And no reason that it would change our ability to park on the street, right?
no, absolutely not. Unless the city, for some reason, decides to put no parking signs, but I don't foresee that happening. Single-family neighborhood.
All right, any additional questions or comments for the public hearing? All right, seeing no one take that opportunity, I'd entertain a motion to close the public
Make a
hearing.
motion, we close the hearing, public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So we're closing it at 6:27. All right, additional thoughts or comments from the planning commission?
So I can go. I think it makes sense. There's going to be 2 houses there. I think cleaning it up and splitting a lot makes sense. I think the neighborhood will be cleaned up. I think the people from the neighborhood that are all directly adjacent to it, we've heard from everyone that touches that property, across the street, left, right, and behind, due to the letter. So I don't think anyone's saying they're not for it. I do think there has been a couple concerns, both from the written letter and one of the individuals who spoke tonight about the light pollution and some blockages between the properties. So I would think we would want to look at entertaining some sort of, the written letter recommended a fence. The gentleman who spoke tonight recommended that he has some hedges, but they're probably not growing tall enough at this point in time. So I think we should probably entertain some conversation around breaking those properties up because of the way that hill works, right? If you walk that neighborhood, I do agree his property is quite a bit lower just because of the flow going towards the bluffs there, and that's where that hill drops off drastically. That's why they only plow that road in one direction when they come around 63rd, because they can't come back up. So they have to go the right way to get around to plow it. So I do live in that neighborhood, walk the roads frequently. I think it makes sense to have the 2 properties. I do think the city staff should entertain a conversation around looking at signage. I don't know what existing signage is there. I honestly didn't pay attention if there's a dead end sign there or not, Eric. But I think we can put a dead end sign
Yeah,
up if
that's
we
what
need
we
to.
do.
I don't think
Take
it's
the
a
one
big
off
deal.
of your street.
Take mine and
Yeah.
put it, yeah, mine has a no parking sign. Yeah, so I think we should look at putting a sign up there. I don't see that as being a difficult thing for the city to pound a stake in the spring. Ground's frozen, so next year. Yeah, and Scott, just to confirm one more time, it will meet all 4 side setbacks. Both
Yes.
properties are far
It
enough.
does.
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, so then I don't really have any other concerns except around the light blockage and the blockage of the neighborhood property, since we've heard from 2 of the people directly adjacent behind and I guess to the east, both have requested that.
Okay.
With new houses, are they held to the same lighting standard as like all the commercial stuff that we always talk about and low?
No, there are different standards for that. I would have to take a look in particular to the residential, but they don't have to comply with the more strict commercial standards. If there is issues with security lighting and so forth, that's something, the city can address and just, contact the owners and say, hey,
Sure.
turn it off or don't have it quite so.
If I could add,
intense.
so, yeah, we get that once in a while, and we're usually able to moderate or mediate those situations. They could also be defined as a nuisance if we get a written complaint about them and say, you know, sometimes although we have neighbors in some places who purposely put lights up just to irritate their neighbors as well. So it's always finding that balance. Scott did put a condition about landscape plans here. Yeah, Scott, I don't know if the planning commission wants to consider.
Yeah, I think we could beef up the language on that, indicate that the applicant provide a plan for some additional fencing and/or landscaping, subject to approval of the city arborist.
That would block the light. Now, you have age of those things have to grow, obviously, but
Mitigation with the plan.
One thing is,
Yeah.
again, because we don't address them that long, it's, because we're dealing with that light issue. The performance standards for residential areas says the light source shall be hooded or controlled so as not to light adjacent property in excess of the maximum intensity defined in, the section that deals with 1-foot candle. So we do have I just never addressed it, so I didn't know it off the top of my head. So we do have standards
okay,
already.
good.
So.
So that would give two parameters to shield the lights, and from a landscaping standpoint and from a hooding or those fixtures. And in time, those things kind of come and go, as we know. New owners come and they switch out lights, and I think most people are pretty good about working with their neighbors. Sometimes they're not, but most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any additional questions or comments?
My only other comment is, are we gonna, the blueprints that are in front of us, the plans, are those what we're gonna have them follow? Because we've had other ones in the last 2 years that bring us pretty plans that look pretty, and then they don't build them. So what are we going to put in for a contingency that what is proposed is actually what was constructed? Because we've had 2 of those come up in my time in the planning commission. So I just am curious what conditions are available to
If that's
follow
one of the
design.
conditions that looks consistent with the presented plans, maybe it doesn't have to be exact, but consistent with?
Yeah, I would let the applicant say, what you propose, is that essentially what you're going to build? I've kept it kind of nebulous because, plans will change a little bit.
Yeah, I've had experience with submitting, and the city of Stillwater, city of Edina, so I was pretty careful about it, and I do plan to have them be very similar. I don't have any problem with, in fact, I'm gonna have a drafts person, redraw them, and I think they'll probably look even better, but that's a minimum.
Perfect, thank you.
Well, since we have you up here,
Oh, what?
do you have any questions or issues with the fencing or landscaping plan?
Thank you for asking. We'll fully landscape it, and I did want to put trees in, just because that's just a good thing to do in general. The fence, I take some issue with that to the extent that his letter said it's creating an extra lot. You got to remember, it's not. I can build on that 80-foot wide lot. And it's a small portion in the corner. His garage actually blocks most of it, so I would want to know where exactly do you want it and how tall and whatnot. But do you know what I mean by, it's just this little part back here. I was hoping to put some trees back there, so I think it's unreasonable, but that's my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
The only other thing that I have to say, other than what I've already said, is to speak to the landscaping. And it looks to me like the landscape plan, the westerly lot appears to have 3 pine trees proposed in the northwest corner of it. And the easterly lot has 3 trees that look like white pines on the northeasterly part. So I know they're not going to be huge when they first build them or first plant them, but those are some nice trees, and they should offer some really nice screening. And screening is one of those things that goes both ways, So I think it's good for the neighborhood. So I was happy to see that, and I see that there's already a condition of approval that these plans be looked at by the arborist. So, yeah. That's all I had.
Right. Any further questions or comments from the commission? All right, well, then we're at the point where we're.
I'd like to make
Can
a
I-
motion.
Can I make the motion?
Oh, go ahead.
I'd like to make the motion with the 2 additional contingencies. One, that they follow the similar styling to what was proposed. So we actually get the buildings that we think we're getting. And 2, we already have the landscaping proposal, so that can stay the same, I believe. And then we're going to add something along the lighting, correct, Scott?
The lighting is already in the
The
ordinance.
lighting's already in the ordinance?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I think we've got that covered.
That's covered? Okay, so then I just propose that we add that the buildings constructed are a likeness to what is proposed.
Second.
Okay, sounds like we have agreement on, so we have 4 conditions. And you made the motion, sorry, you made the motion, I'm sorry. So we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So it carries. Sorry, I'm a little slow tonight.
When is she going to be?
This will go before the city council on December 13th, if I'm reading this correctly.
Next week.
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, yeah.
So they're the ones that actually make the decision. We're just making a recommendation, so. But thanks for coming.
All right, so that brings us to our second public hearing, zoning ordinance amendments. So again, we'll look at staff.
I think Eric is going to take this one. He's been leading this up.
So thank you,
Thank you for coming.
thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, everyone.
You want to stay through that public hearing? Sorry.
That's okay. In our city, the city has home occupation licenses, and we also have in our city daycare operations. We've processed these in the past as conditional use permits. Well, we had an applicant came in recently and was not aware that they had to secure a conditional use permit, which can take 30 days, 60 days, what have you. Even if it was the most wonderful application in the world, there's still that process. So we informed these folks just at the start of the school year that this is the process. Well, they already, of course, have commitments to families and children and this and that. So we worked out a temporary permit for them. In the interim, we said, look, as we reviewed the ordinance, there became some complexities and some discrepancies, and it was like, well, some of this doesn't make some sense. So we took an opportunity to say, hey, let's clean this up and make it so 2 things are clear. One, the process is clear that it is in fact a home occupation, not as some of our definitions say, a special home occupation, which triggers that conditional use permit. And some of that also is confusing because our R1 single-family zoning allows daycare as a permitted use. So we had these things at loggerheads. So in a nutshell, what we've done is make amendments, and these are in a number of red lines and a number of insertions that in effect say to people who come into the city who want to do a daycare as a home occupation, there are limits into how you run them and where you run them, but you do not need to have a conditional use permit. We're just treating them as a home occupation. I believe we have 4 in our city. We've never really had any issues. And the most important thing we're trying to get at with all this language is that it can't change the essential character of that street, of that neighborhood. That is the way we've always executed it. That's the way we've always pursued it. We're just trying to make that process easier, not only for the applicant, but also for city staff. And Scott, if I touch base on all the
I believe you did.
particulars.
Yep, sounds good.
So with that, we have a number of suggested changes to your ordinance, and in order to make these changes in total, you need a public hearing. This is part of your planning committee, your planning rules, so that's why we're here tonight.
Okay.
So if you open a public hearing and.
So I guess, yeah, we would open the public hearing at 6:40. There's no public to,
The room is empty.
The room is,
so,
I scared them away with my harsh words, I guess, sorry.
seeing as there's no public to,
I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
we have a motion and a
Second? Either one of
give it
us,
to Tim.
whichever
One
one.
of us will do it.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so it carries. Additional questions, comments?
So the way I read that, Eric, is essentially we're taking the ability to make these decisions and giving it to you and the city.
correct. And we're clarifying also in the language that the city, at that point, is defined as staff,
Yep.
is going to be empowered to put conditions on these little home occupation things.
Perfect. That was what I took from it.
But we also have to understand, the most they can have is 12.
Right.
12 kids, because that's still the parameter in the R1 zoning. So it really can't be beyond that scale anyway. They're also going to have to be state licensed as well, so.
And 12 is an appropriate number for a single-family daycare.
It is.
Again, that's
Yeah.
a state thing, and it just,
That's a bigger rule
That's a
than
lot of
us.
traffic and a lot of kids in one place.
that's better than 24. What I'm saying is that
Yeah.
12 is
And 12 is beyond Oak Park Heights.
I mean, and you might, if you don't know where they are in our city, you might know where some of them
I
are.
walk past one, I
Yep.
think, I don't know.
But the ones I'm aware of, there's no signs up, there's no, maybe they grind each other at home and just. But I've not heard of any significant issues at all. But our goal as staff is to say, look, keep it within the realm of reason, and we would probably come up with the same rules and regs that you folks would. We just want to keep it moving, so.
Right. Got a question?
Not so much a question as a comment. I think that, when these things happen where the ordinance contradicts itself, that says one thing in one area and something else in the other area, I think we need to really look those up and get them resolved, because that creates liability for the city. When one person does it and then someone says, well, hold it a minute, I found this in the ordinance, says I can do this, and yeah, so I'm in favor of this just because it cleans up some potential liability for the city, so. And it seems reasonable.
I
That's
just
all I
had
have
a
to say.
quick point of curiosity and clarification. Under, so home occupations, theoretically, everyone that's been working
Yeah.
remotely since COVID, are they supposed to be getting
No.
these permits?
Nope, nope,
There's a threshold, isn't there? about
correct.
Businesses?
Yep, and it's all defined in a permitted home occupation. If people are, in a nutshell, if people are having clients come to their home, or they're selling product, manufacturing something, then it starts getting a little, you have to really think about that, but, just officing from home, no.
Okay.
No problem.
All right, any other questions, comments from the commission? Otherwise, I think we're ready for a motion.
I move to accept it as recommended.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Didn't hear any, so carries unanimously. Great, we have, up next, we have nothing under new business. Then we have our 2023 meeting and commission representative schedule, which is at the back. I guess just make note of that, and
Yep.
if things change in the future, we can
We'll adjust them
wheel
on
and
the
deal
fly.
as needed.
Well, it changes on the fly anyway, so.
Tuesdays are always bad, but we'll see how it works this year.
All right, we have nothing under old business, informational. We've got the 5 upcoming meetings. Yep. Just kind of touched on that.
To make a motion that we adjourn.
All right.
Are we at that spot?
You're as long as we know that you're the representative at Tuesday's meeting.
Kind of a thing I like to do. My favorite time in the meeting.
We've got a motion to adjourn
A second.
and a
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Hopefully you got something fun to do, Tim.
Huh?
You got something fun to do?
Well, Thursday nights, I play pool on Thursday nights, so.
Yeah, good for you.
But there's nobody at my house this week, so it's, we're at another guy's house, so. Sometimes I have people at my house while I'm at the meeting, and they're playing pool on my pool table, and it's like, hold a minute, I wanna play.